I will begin my argument in 3, 2, 1. Within the status quo itself, stating that femininity and selflessness are so deeply ingrained as twin ideals that even the most woke woman will feel vaguely guilty when she chooses to do something purely for herself, such as saving some time to take care of herself, or even do nothing and just lying in bed for just 10 minutes instead of preparing breakfast for family and so forth. Therefore, as the government side of the House, we will proudly support the motion that clearly stated how, as a feminist movement, this House would encourage women to be selfish. Now, before I jump into my argument, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Reydivya, and I will be your Prime Minister from the government side of the House. Now, as the government side of the House, we have the ability to limit and define of the motion and the context. What are we stating in this debate clearly? Therefore, we will define this House in the perspective of feminist point of view. And we will define feminist as someone who believes in for the equality of women and men in terms of right opportunities and social standing. Now, in this motion that stated how this House would encourage women to be selfish, it means that women can have a right to be concerned with their own interests, needs, and desires so that they can be equal to men and having the gender equality rights. Because it has been occurred that women has always experienced oppression in various aspects of life, including family, workplace, society. Such examples are unequal access to resources, limited decision-making power, and gender-based violence regarding their financial matters, marriage, even their own bodies. That is all for our definition and limitation about this debate. Now allow me to jump into my argument. And ladies and gentlemen, it is important to understand how it's alarming about often women's self-abandonment is not just tolerated but normalized and celebrated. From the subtle pressure of societal norms to the overt glorification of sacrifice in media and cultural narrative, women are conditioned to prioritize the needs of others over their own well-being. These toxic patterns not only undermine individual fulfillment, but also support harmful gender stereotype and systemic inequality. The social expectation for women to be selfless nurturers, caregivers, and supporters is deeply ingrained. From a young age, girls are socialized to prioritize the comfort and happiness of others, often at the expense of their own desires and needs. This pattern continues into adulthood, where women may find themselves juggling multiple roles and responsibilities without adequate time or resources to tend their own mental, emotional, and psychical health. Moreover, women who dare to prioritize themselves are often met with resistance or guilt-tripping from those around them. Whether it's the pressure to conform to traditional gender roles or the fear of being labeled as selfish or neglectful, many women feel compelled to suppress their own aspirations and desires in favor of fulfilling societal expectations. In popular culture and the status quo itself, the narrative of the self-sacrificing woman is often romanticized and glamorized, further reinforcing the idea that women's worth is contingent upon their ability to serve and support others. Whether it's the heteronormative goal of a devoted wife who sacrifices her career for her husband's ambition, or the dedicated mother who puts her children's needs above her own. This thing is harmful stereotypes and limit the scope of women's potential, ladies and gentlemen, and it is but necessary to understand that. As a woman myself, I always wonder how exactly does the society will allow and stated that he deserves it to, let's say, a man to have a break from everything such as work, father duties for themselves with the reason that they are tired. And then the society would decline and stated that women are lazy when they want to have a break from everything. Let's say again from work, mother duties, also just like the men. People keep saying gender equality this, gender equality that, but when a woman is actually stand up for herself, defend and fight to make herself be equal with men, it's considered as selfish. Since childhood, as a woman, I've been taught myself that the epitome of womanhood is selflessness. Therefore, it is necessary for women to become selfish. Being selfish doesn't mean being rude or aggressive, ladies and gentlemen. It is simply mean respecting yourself first. This expression means that it is okay for a woman for her own needs, saying no sometimes, and not settling for the last or the least, exploring and making time for her own interests that may be different from her child's or her family's interests, and normalizing being herself and not who others want or need her to be all the time. True empowerment comes from honoring oneself, setting boundaries, and prioritizing one's own well being. By rejecting the expectation to constantly prioritize the needs of others, women can reclaim their agency and pave the way for a more equitable and just society. Yet, at the same time, we as a feminist of society need to increase the safety around female empowerment, not just allowing women to be selfish. There are so many examples on how people are allowed to act, treat others, what is expected of women in terms of communication, emotional expression, appearance, hobbies, work tasks, household chores, and the list goes on and on. Let's not normalize who has to cook or clean or care for children and who get to rest after a holiday's meals. And let's not label a woman as a rude or selfish when she gives honest feedback, says no to a request, or acts assertively. Allowing women to become selfish is one way to a true empowerment for its beneficial reason. Women can have the ability to express herself and knowing her character self even more. For example, when a woman rejecting something, that means they know exactly what she wants and she is proud with it. Therefore, she is brave to reject and state what they want instead of become selfless and does not live as herself just because she wants to please herself. Having the ability to express herself makes woman becomes happier because she's becoming her own self without society shapes her to be. And this shows how allowing woman to become selfish and be true to herself will make woman mental health become healthier. Moreover, she will have a higher self-esteem at the same time because she make her own mental health become healthier. Woman has always been told that becoming selfish is one of the worst things that she could do. Yet, one successful women are those who acknowledge their needs, honor their own perspective, and adapt to changing circumstances. This is something that's what society should allow women to become, which is to become selfish and become true to herself without needing exactly to fit the stereotype of what society wants her to be. Therefore, we as the government side of the House clearly, proudly support this motion that stated how, as a feminist movement, would encourage women to become selfish for its own context. Thank you so much for your attention. We will beg you to propose this motion.